Hey, what's up? It's Breyonna. So today we're going to be revisiting the Mikayla palette, again, her collaboration with Glamlight, and I know a lot of you guys have been wanting to see this, and if you'd like to see my original review on this palette, I'll have it linked in the description box down below for you. But I actually posted a mini, little review over on TikTok, and let's just say it got a little bit more attention than I was expecting, and a bitch got dragged. But you know what, it's totally fine. But Mikayla actually saw my video, and she is such a sweet person, and she gave me these amazing recommendations as to how to use her palette, and just what a class act of a person, she's so sweet and genuine. And I told her, I was like, I'm so sorry that I didn't like your palette. I really wanted to love it. And she's like, don't worry about it, girl. You know, I'll just put the whole conversation right here if you want to read it. But I thought we would try it out today using her recommendations and seeing if things go a little bit better this time around. So the first thing that I'm going to do is prime my eyes. Again, I'm going to use my Anastasia eye primer because this is what I use with all my palettes, and this is also the primer that I used with my donut palette from Glamlight. And I'm just going to put a little bit on the back of my hand. And then I'm just going to press it into the eye. So in Mikayla's reply, she did say that she recommends doing the pack and blend motion and going from the darkest shade to the lightest, so that's what we're going to do. And she also recommends to use denser brushes, so I'm going to go in with these tiny, really thick ones that I have. And I'm first going to go in with the purple matte shade in the palette, the darkest one, called Frisky. And the brush I'm going to be using is this one from Anastasia. It's an A14. Again, it's kind of like a little pencil brush. It's a little bit on the denser side. And I'm just going to start pressing this shadow in my crease. Oh yeah. I remember this shade being really pigmented when I packed it on the outer third. I'm just going to do a second layer. I'm also going to kind of round out the edge a little bit too. And I'm on my third dip. And then after the color's done, I'm just going to start buffing out the edge, doing these little circles. I really like that color though. It's kind of like a purple, but it almost has a little bit of a raspberry look to it. It's really, really pretty. I think it technically could be called a plum. I want to say it's a plum, but I'm gonna just take a little bit more and kind of finesse it a little bit. Because I will say it's just a little bit uneven looking in certain areas. It's not terrible, but I just want to try to smooth it out. Okay, after doing both eyes, I've noticed that this purple is slightly uneven looking. It's not terribly patchy, but you can kind of see it just has this weird kind of texture to it. But what I'm trying to do is take a little bit more pigment and press it in to smooth it out more. And it's not it's near the edge either. It's kind of where I was really packing the color down. I don't know if you can see, on this side it's pretty prominent, right in here and up in here. So we're gonna kind of do a purple crease today. I don't know if I want to go in with blue or not. I haven't decided yet, but I want to go in with this purple next. This one's called Pot 2. And I'm going to be taking it again on this brush from Anastasia. It's a different little pencil brush. It's a separate brush, I should say. It's the same brush, but you know what I mean. It's a different brush than I have used, but you know, the same brush. But I'm taking this shade and I'm just packing it right on the edge. Ooh, that looks pigmented. That evened out Frisky so much. I mean, look at the difference of the two. And I'm just gonna lightly buff out the edge. I just feel it's really hard to get a good blend doing this method. So I'm hoping that it gives me a little bit better of an experience. But right now it's really hard for me to get rid of this harsh line and diffuse it. And that's kind of the problem I have with this method and why I don't like doing it. And you can kind of see right now that darker shade is lifting the Frisky shade, so I'm going to go in with a little bit more. Kind of press it in. I don't know if you can see the lift right here. It's just slightly. Just going to round out the edge a little bit more. some reason I can't get this slight harsh line of Frisky to go away. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's like right in here. So when I tilt my head up, I don't know if you can see, but these purples, they have almost just like a weird like patchiness to them. But also that Frisky shade, like right here in my crease, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it just looks a little bit uneven. And right here, I think you can see the splotchiness I'm talking about. It's like right in this area. I will say though, I'm having such a better experience this time around, but again, I am using different shades, so I don't know if the formulas are hit and miss, you know, depending. But the next shade I'm going to go in with is actually this kind of like baby blue shade. I guess I technically call it like a sky blue. And this one's called Rody. I'm going to say Rody. And I'm just going to be taking it on this littler kind of like blending brush from ColourPop, and this is an E27. I don't know, I thought that a blue pop would be really pretty with this look, and I'm just going to pack it right on the edge. Ooh, I like that blue. It's really pretty. I feel like with these shades though, to get it to look like really even, you really have to like go in with more pigment. It's not like a one dip apply kind of thing, like you kind of have to like do like little chunks. Because otherwise it does look a little bit uneven. I'm going the full way around too, like I'm even gonna like go around the purple a little bit, you know, just for like a blue hue. It's a really pretty blue though. Ooh, this purple, it's giving me some harsh lines. I don't know if you can see it or not, but like right in here, this harsh line, I cannot get it to go away. So I'm gonna go in with like more blue and kind of like press it on that edge. It looks very like stripy. And again, that's the problem I have with this method, is that I always feel like it looks so chunky. Like I never get like a seamless blend, and that's why I never do it and I don't recommend it. Because I like things to be like completely like gradient faded, because I am so picky. I don't know if you like this too, but I'm a huge perfectionist. And I try to, you know, make it look a certain way. And I'm just going back in with that brush that we applied pot 2 with. And I'm just trying to like buff out this edge a little bit. Again, I feel like pressing the shades down, they look more pigmented, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to buff out the edge. Like, I get the pigmentation, I just don't get the blend. I'm trying to, like, get this outer edge. It's, like, funny looking. I'm trying to make it look good. But you see what I mean, though? It just looks very, like, chunky in certain areas. Like, if I tilt my head, you see what I'm talking about? Like, right in here, you can see, like, it just had, like, that chunky look to it. It's not giving me, like, that seamless blend. And I'm just going off of what she said, you know, like, packing down in between the colors, using more dense brushes. Maybe if I bring the blue down a little bit further, that'll kind of help. I'm not sure. Now I'm just going to go back in with the brush that we applied the Frisky shade with, reapply it. Yeah, like I feel like I really have to keep on like layering these shadows to get like a really good blend with. Like right now I've done like multiple layers, you know, just trying to, you know, get it to do that like nice gradient fade. I feel like it's looking better though. It's just, it's not exactly where I want it to be, and it's really hard to get that pot 2 shade to blend out. But I will say, like, bringing the blue down a little bit further, I feel like that helped a lot. So I just cut the crease off camera, but man, I am having such a better experience this time around. But I will say, I think the purples are kind of hard to blend out. I don't know what it is. I was filming like a separate video on TikTok, and I tilted my head in the natural light, and I noticed I have like this slight purple harsh line right here. And for the life of me, I cannot get it to budge, so I'm just gonna have to leave it. Otherwise, it's gonna be the death of me. So, you know, we're gonna go on to the next step. So I'm just gonna go in with a little bit more of Frisky. Again, on this kind of like pointed shader brush from the Morphe Madison Beer collection. And I'm gonna pack it right on the outer edge of that cut crease, like right on that harsh line. I'm not bringing it in far, just enough to like mask that edge. Do you see what I mean though? Like this purple, it just looks really uneven. I don't know, like the purples, like they have pigment to them when you pack them down. It's just, there's something about the formula, they just don't look fully even when you look at it. So on the lid today, I really want to try out more of the shimmers in here because I'm just so curious about them. The first time that I did the look, I almost went in with Audrey, and I'm really regretting that I didn't, so I'm just gonna go in with this one today. And this one's kind of like a deeper, kind of like, almost like a mermaid, like siren kind of blue. Do you know what I mean? Like a deep water kind of bluish green. It just looks super pretty. Like I need to use it. And this one's not as creamy in the pan. Like it's creamy, but it's not like as, this one's also slightly crumbly in the pan, I will warn you. But whew, it looks so pretty on my brush. But I'm just gonna pack it right, oh my gosh. Holy pigment. It's super sparkly too. I'm gonna pack it kind of like in the outer half of my eye. So again, I want to go in with other shimmers today too. Man, that's pretty. I'm just gonna kind of like feather it in to the outer edge. I'm trying to like finesse it into this outer edge a little bit more, so I'm just taking whatever's left on my brush and kind of like tapping it. I really wish that this palette had like a deep navy or, you know, like a midnight blue or even a matte black, because it's shades like this, because this is literally the deepest shade in the palette is Frisky, and you can see it can't almost handle the Audrey shade. Actually, you know what, I think this shade would work with Willow more. Again, I haven't used Willow, so I'm not too sure how it looks when applied, but like looking at it in the pan, it's like a deep kind of like cool tone brown. I will warn you though too, this shimmer does have some fallout to it. So you'll definitely want to do your eyes before your face with this palette. And also doing the pack and blend method, the Frisky shade did give me a little bit of fallout too. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit more of Frisky and kind of like pack it on the edge of this shimmer. Oof. Look at, you see what I mean? Like it's giving me like this weird like harsh line situation. Like it's really hard to correct it. And it's like lifting up the shade to the matte. Like I love the look of these shimmers, but they're kind of like the type you have to really finesse. Like the last time I used this palette, I had to go in with the shimmer on a brush and like pack it the full way and just like hope that it would, you know, kind of like finesse better into the crease. And I feel like I'm gonna have to do it with this shade too, because you can see like it just looks a little chunky right in here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but if I like tilt my head, there's the dark line, and then there's the chunkiness. Which is really frustrating because it looks so pretty, but it's just so finicky. So I like finesse this outer edge with the shimmer by packing down the shimmer with a dense brush. Literally what I did is I just took Audrey on this little shader brush, put just the tiniest amount and packed it down to kind of like finesse it. And I feel like I got rid of that harsh line then. You can kind of see it if I tilt my head up a little bit, but I think this is as good as I can get. Again, if this palette had like a matte blue, I think it would have just really added a lot. But let's work on the rest of the lid, and the shade I really want to go in with is this Stunning shade. Like, oh, look, it is so pretty. It's kind of like an acid green that has like a little bit of like a gold reflect in it. It's just a really pretty color. But you guys know, like, I am the biggest sucker for green and purple, so anytime I can get an excuse to use it, as you can see with my eyeshadow look today, I'm gonna take it. Because I don't know what it is about green and purple, they're just so eye-catching to me. I feel like a lot of you guys, though, understand my obsession with purple. Like, I feel a lot of you love purple as much as I do. Like, even my backdrop's purple. Like, if I can get it in purple, I usually do. But I'm going to take a little bit of Stunning on this, like, shader brush. Again, I use these dry, I don't use them damp, because they are just so creamy. I feel like they don't need a dampened brush. But I'm just going to apply to the rest of the lid, anywhere that base is still showing, and man, that is pretty. Again, it's kind of like an acid green. I don't really see the gold reflect in it though after I applied it. It almost has like a limey, like yellowy green kind of reflect to it. Super, super pretty. And again, it's very reflective. If you're like me and you like really intense shimmers, you're gonna love how this one looks. So I just applied my complexion products off camera, but let's do the lower lash line. And I'm first gonna go back in with that Frisky shade, that deepest kind of like plummy purple. And I'm just gonna be taking it on the brush that we applied it with, that small little pencil brush. I'm just gonna kind kind of like press it in. And now I'm just going to go in with a little bit of pot 2, again with the brush that we applied it with. Ooh, seems a little dusty. I will warn you, this part 2 shade, or pot 2, is extremely powdery in the pan. Like, it has a lot of like kickback to it, so you'll just want to be a little bit careful when you're dipping your brush into it, and you don't want to wear white. Do you see what I mean though? Like, it's kind of almost like getting everywhere. And again, I did tap off my brush first. And now I'm just going to go in with Rhody on, again, that brush that we applied it with. And I'm just going to finesse it on the edge. Do you see what I mean though? Like, Rhody isn't like super pigmented. Because see what I mean? Like, that's just one layer. Like, I feel like I have to go in with a lot of layers. Like, press it down like this and then dip my brush back in. And then do the same thing and go the full way. So for the inner corner highlight, I'm just going to go in with the shade Nuz. It's like a bluish, like icy kind of color. And I'm just going to be taking it on this teeny tiny little pencil brush from Dose of Colors, because last time it was almost like too much in the inner corner, so I'm hoping a smaller brush will kind of make it look a little, you know, not so chunky. I don't know, like it just had like a weird dark undertone to it. So it like, I don't know, it looked funky. If you see the video, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to take it on this small little pencil brush and lightly apply it. Yeah. Shade's just kind of dark for an inner corner. You see what I mean? Like, it's just, like, it's cute and blinding, but I feel like I would like it way better on the lid rather than the inner corner. But we're gonna work with it. I just wish that this palette had like a champagne or like an icy white or even like an icy blue. Something lighter than this one though. Because again, it looked bomb from the side. Like, again, super sparkly, really intense. But from the front, it kind of has like this dark cast to it because of the gray purple undertone to it. So I forgot to show you guys this earlier, but the green shimmer in here like literally crumbles itself. Like, you have to be really careful with it because I barely like pushed my brush into it, and you see it's like crumbling around where I'm dipping into. You can kind of see it's like popping up right in here too. So you want to be very careful with this one. The blue shade Audrey does it too, but not as bad. This one's the worst I have seen out of this palette. I will say though too, like the shimmers in here look very well loved even after one use. Like, this palette's gonna look really used super fast. So here's how the finished look turned out, and I will say this time around I had way better of an experience. I am so happy that I reused the palette and used her recommendations, because again, the first time that I used it, like it was a hot mess a little bit, just to say the least. Again, like the finished look turned out, but getting to that point, it took a little bit of work. But again, like, I think everything looks really nice. You know, it did kind of like come together in the end, but to get it to this point, you know, I did struggle a little bit here and there. First things first though, the mattes this time around applied way better. I had way better of an experience with them. But with that though, I still kind of struggled with them a little bit. Like this deeper purple shade right here called Frisky. This one is a little bit on the patchy side. Again, it's not terribly patchy, but if you do look in a mirror, you can see that it doesn't look fully even. And also, I do have a little bit of a hard time getting it to completely blend out and give me like a seamless blend. Again, it's not terrible, but if you're like me and you're a perfectionist, it might drive you nuts. And also, I did notice that part 2 kind of gave me a chunkiness too. Not as bad as Frisky, but it still is there. And also, I did notice that part 2 and Frisky, when applied, they look very, very similar because they have a very similar tone to them. In this palette, I just wish that they would have, you know, maybe included a deeper purple, you know, like made Frisky like a little bit deeper, or, you know, just picked one of the shades over the other and then maybe did like a really light pale purple. I don't know, like they just look way too similar when applied in my opinion. And I just felt like I couldn't get a full-on seamless blend with the purples either. Like, again, it's not terrible, but if you're like me and you're a perfectionist, it's probably gonna drive you nuts. And you can kind of see it, especially on this eye, like right here underneath the blue, and then in this outer edge. This eye, it isn't as bad, but for some odd reason, it just, I don't know, like it's not exactly where I want it to be. Again, it's not like the worst purple formula I've ever used, it's just definitely not my favorite. Now this matte baby blue shade called Nuz is beautiful. I like the color of it, but I feel like it's not like super, super pigmented. Like I felt like when I was applying it, I had to like press it in, and then I'd be like, oh, it's starting to kind of like sheer out, so I had to go in with more. And I just had to keep on doing that to get like the pigmentation that I was looking for and to make it look super even. Again, it's not patchy, I just feel like it doesn't have a ton of like oomph to it. As for the shimmers in here, they are absolutely beautiful, super sparkly, and just super glittery. If you're like me and you like really extra shimmers, you are gonna absolutely love how these ones look on the eye. But unfortunately, they are so hard to blend into the crease area. Like literally, they give a harsh line, they look chunky, they're just really hard to work with. And I feel like some of that reason is because there is no like true deeper shade to help with the undertone of the shimmer. Like if you look at this Audrey shade, it kind of has like a deeper blue, almost like blackish kind of undertone to it. And because of that, I feel like it's really hard to blend into that purple because that purple isn't deep enough for it. But again, in the end, I think it looks really nice. And it did kind of lift up frisky in this outer edge too, but I just literally took Audrey on my finger, tapped it down, and I think it's doing pretty good. So after trying this palette out a second time, would I recommend it? Honestly, I just think this palette's just kind of eh. Like, I don't think it's like the best palette I've ever used, nor is it like the worst. It's just kind of eh. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but it's like one of those palettes like I feel like I really had to work with to get a bomb look with. But at the end of the day, I think it turned out really pretty. It's just, it took me a lot of time to do so. Like with the mattes, I really had to like build them up, you know, work with them, reapply, and it was like a whole thing. And like the shimmers, like they look amazing right here in this inner portion, but this outer edge, I really had to finesse because I could not get it to seamlessly blend. And don't get me wrong, I love Mikayla, I think she's a really sweet person, but this palette's a pretty penny. Again, it's $42, and you know, having to do a specific technique, you know, use small denser brushes, and you know, really like work with the shadows, I don't think it's really that worth it. Especially knowing that my favorite palette is $43, which is the Be Perfect X Stacey Marie Carnival Love Tahiti palette, and literally just $1 more. And with that palette, I don't have to worry about like techniques, I don't have to worry about how I build up the shadows. You know, I just apply the shimmer and go. Like, it's literally a no-fuss formula. And if you've never seen the Be Perfect X Stacey Marie Carnival Love Tahiti palette, this is what it looks like. And I feel like it has kind of a similar vibe to the Mikayla palette. Again, I don't feel like they're similar because the Love Tahiti palette doesn't really have neutrals to it like the Mikayla palette, but if you're looking for something kind of similar that has a little bit better of a formula, I recommend this one. I'm really happy that I tried it out a second time because I really wanted to give this palette a fair shot, especially since I like Mikayla so much. But in the comments down below though, let me know what you think about this look, and also let me know if you've tried out this palette and what your thoughts are on it. But as always though, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on Instagram or TikTok, it's at Breyonna as well. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!